I've got to manage myself, I've got to manage my mind. The task is not easy, but to high heights I climb.
I'm determined to succeed, so no excuses, please. If you don't want success in life, then don't hinder me.
Michael E. Parker, and I am here in studio on CEO TV Live. And as promised, we're going to have a fireside chat today. And I want to talk to you about several things. But before we jump into it, you have got to recognize this nice new you versus you bomber that I got on right here. I mean, this is such a high quality bomber, if I can say so myself. If you want to feel this or get someone else to feel it, and look, I'm a basketball player, so it has that kind of break off button that, oh, look at that. I got another one of our new shirts. I am the CEO of my life right underneath here. That was on accident, but listen, this here is a real comfortable bomber jacket. So make sure you go to the store. There's a lot of new stuff in there. The team has been putting a lot of work, so you can go out there and represent the movement, represent wear the movement, live the life. So, I really tonight wanted to just talk to you for a little bit. And this is just going to be one of them sessions where I'm just going to give you some coaching, some free coaching tonight. You all know that I do a lot of different coaching, consulting for both personal and professional development. And, you can talk about many different things to help advance business and help people advance in their life. And we're getting ready for a new year. There's a lot of different things that all of us are dealing with. Tonight, I want to talk a little bit about wealth. And I think everybody wants to be more wealthy. Everybody wants to make money. And there's a lot of things we need to think about. As I know that, everybody would want to make more money next year than they did this year. I mean, everyone wants to be moving forward. There's always a sense of mobility and moving that we all want to have. And just even in the law of physics, if there's no force that is greater than the force that is already in motion, then nothing will stop or nothing will, there'll be no anything that will cause friction enough to cause something to stop. And so there has to be a force within us that's greater than some of the forces that hold us down, hold us back, stop us from moving forward. And we always want to be advancing toward more success. And one of the indicators of that is financials, is money. And we know that we don't want to put all of our happiness can't come from money, but we do know having money can allow you to do things that you enjoy and take care of things that can interrupt your life. So let's jump into it. I'm going to head over to the whiteboard because I want to talk to you about this word, wealth. All right. So I want to talk to you about this word wealth, and we're just going to talk about several things. So get your notepad out. We're just going to go for a ride, and we're going to talk about some of the different elements and things we need to think about, things we need to consider. So when we think about this word, wealth, and it's kind of spelled like wealth, but it's pronounced wealth, right? And when you think about this first part here, we pronounce it well. And you all have heard me talk about this, how in the foundation term wealth was the word well, that we need to be well. And so again, sometimes we'll say, to have good wealth. There's even a scripture in the Bible to talk about prosper, be in good health and so forth, or it talks about being well. And then sometimes you see in olden times they would use terms about well or wealth, using it as an indicator of how someone was doing, right? And so when we think about this, I want you to understand that before we can think deeply about wealth, we have to think about ourselves. We want to understand a little bit about where we are. Now, we just had a wonderful show not long ago. We talked about the difference between self-esteem, right, versus self-respect. Now, hopefully you all got a lot out of that show, had a wonderful talk with Terry Fulton, one of our URCO coaches, and we really dug in and we talked about how self-esteem is, really looking at how I esteem myself. And we focus a lot on that, in the world today, how we build up the self-esteem of a child or of ourselves, or you see how we esteem other people and how, even, the celebrities and all the different things, it's all about how we esteem someone else. And they promote their own self-esteem as something for others really to kind of worship. But then there's self-respect. And for there to be some self-respect, there has to be something in me, something that I've created, some value in there for me to have respect for myself, respect for what's in there. Now, I want to introduce another self-word, which is self-worth. Now, self-worth is very interesting. All of these have the self in it, right? And we talk about how we esteem, we talk about respect. This one deals with the word worth. Now, this is very important because a lot of times we think about worth, we think about money. And so this is, again, we say, well, how much is that car worth, right? How much are those shoes worth? How much is that handbag worth? I know some of the ladies out there. And you start thinking about all the different things and what value does it have? Well, we have to also think about that with respect to ourselves. What is the worth of the things that we've invested in ourselves? So I'm not so much thinking about, self-worth in terms of like you're putting a price tag on you as a person, but I want you to think about the things that you've invested in yourself that are worth things, right? Education is worth something, right? So think about some of these things. So we know education is worth something, right? Experience is worth something. Access, right? Maybe I have access to something that is worth something, right? Opportunity kind of goes along with access. These are all worth something. What about skills? Kind of goes along with experience, and we could keep on going, but these are things that add value and add worth to myself. So before we can even get to thinking about wealth, we have to think a little bit about self-worth. And I want you to think about not self-worth in terms of the emotional, like how I feel about myself, right? Because you could just be psychologically saying, I know I'm worth a lot. I know what I'm worth and all of that. But, in the real world, that's not, when we're talking about wealth, when we're talking about things that lead to real income and money, you have to really have some tangible things that are real investments that you've put into yourself. So everything you do, you have to think about it deeper. So when you go to work, what are you doing to add worth? So at work, what are you learning to add to your worth? Things you can take with you beyond that job, beyond that particular opportunity. Think beyond that. When you go to work, you should be thinking about how much worth is here that I can add to me. So whatever happens next, I can take that with me. When you have an experience in life, what did you learn from it? When you look at something online, don't spend all of your time online looking at videos and that don't make no sense, just kind of silly stuff. Sometimes look at stuff that adds value. Your time is precious, right? So when we think about that, that's why so often we talk about the house, right, of success. And at URCO, we talk about how important your success IQ is. And then we deal with health and why that's so important. Then we deal with life management, right? Where we're dealing with a lot of your time elements there and your priorities. Then we deal with how we manage money. And then we look at the roof of this house, which is wealth. But notice, before we can get to the roof of that house, and wealth is probably the thing that everyone sees, right? The rooftop, right? But we have to do some work on this house where we're focusing on our foundation, which has a lot to do with self. You know, we deal with those 4 ingredients, right? Self-ignorance. We deal with all the things we deal with: fear, insecurities, and mediocrity, how to overcome those things. Then we have to deal with our health, right? Because if we don't deal with health, what good is the wealth if you can't enjoy that because you don't feel well, right? So we have to make sure that we address that. Then we deal with life management and time. Now, we know the great battle, right? We got that battle between time versus money, right? And who's going to win? Time versus money? Well, you've heard me say many times, we spend all of our time trying to get more money. And then in the end, we spend all of our money trying to get more time, right? Because we start to see that time is a priceless commodity because you can't get it back. If I lose $1,000, I can get that $1,000 again one day. I can make money again one day. When I lose time, right? That's something I cannot get back. That is something that is gone forever. So my time is very important. So when we think about wealth, this is very important. We're looking at a time element as well, because a part of wealth in terms of being well is not just about money. And this is what's the beauty of real wealth, is that I found a way to have more of my time and have the money that I need to do what I want. That's really, that's really good wealth. So what if you had a lot of money but no time to enjoy it? Right? So this is what we mean. This is why wealth is such a critical topic and time is involved. And so speaking of money, we want to have a sense of stability, understanding our money and how money moves in our life, our day-to-day life, making sure that our needs are covered, our obligations are covered. All of those things are critical. And then we have a very good foundation to get to what we talk about with respect to wealth. So there's many elements here that we'll talk about with respect to wealth. Now, this is, again, when you think about all this, I want to talk to you about 3 critical things when we think about wealth that you can't get away from, right? So one of them, and we talk about this a lot, I'm going to use cash, but you could say money as well, right? Cash in minus cash out equals cash flow, okay? So, again, we know that cash in is a positive, cash out is a negative, and then cash flow is the difference between these two numbers. And we know in our life, we want a positive cash flow. And this is what we know begins to create wealth. So we have to understand that at the end of the day, everything comes down to this. I don't care. Deal with anything, any business, any person, it comes down to these 3 things. It really does. And if you don't have enough cash flow, if you don't have enough money coming in a positive sense, then you are going to definitely be in a situation when it comes to actually sustaining wealth. So think about anything, right? So let's think about something as detailed as, let's look at the restaurant industry for a minute, right? If I was dealing with a restaurant, so the cash in comes from people who come to that restaurant and they pay me for what's on the menu, right? That's where the money comes into the restaurant. Now, behind that, what is all the stuff that's going on, right? We've got a facility there, right? We've got workers. We've got recipe development. We've got software, right? We've got hospitality. We've got vendor management, food, all this type of stuff, right? That's happening. And this is where the cash out starts to happen. And this is someone that's in this industry or any other business, you would say, man, you don't know what goes into this restaurant. There's so much work that has to go into it. But at the end of the day, it doesn't even matter what all these details are. This ends up being a number, right? And that number, again, is going to be compared to this number. And that, at the end of the day, will determine if there was cash flow or not. And this is why we have to always be looking at everything we do, every opportunity we have, whether or not it can create a positive cash flow. And so we'll talk a little bit more about this, but so a person who owns a business, at the end of the day, if they own a business, then they want to actually make sure that that business is producing a positive cash flow. If you own a real estate property, you want that real estate property to produce a positive cash flow. If you actually are managing your home, right? You're managing your personal life. Your personal life needs to generate a positive cash flow. So you say, well, I don't own anything, I just go to work. Yeah, but that work is your cash in, right? And all the things you do to live is your cash out, and I'm still trying to create a positive cash flow. Now, those that create wealth are the ones who create substantially more cash flow than others. Now, when you think about this, and we think about some of the key elements of generating wealth, and so I'm seeing how much time I can't see how much time I have there, but I want to make sure that as we continue to jump in here, look at all of the different things that you could go to and still bring it down to whether or not it produces cash flow. Now, two big things. When we think about you, and I want to come back to you in just a minute, so make sure you're taking some notes on all this. We're just kind of going into this subject, and I'm probably going to erase some of this and jump into some other things. But I want you to think about, when we think about that house of wealth and how a person really begins to look for ways to generate wealth. Now, there's a lot of ways to do that, but some of the things that we should be aware of, and we've talked about before. Now, we know when we think about how this country started, a lot of things that were involved, of course, a big aspect was the banks, right? And we know that the banks were established and central banking was established when everything changed. And when we started getting central banks, we start getting into taxes, right? And I won't go into all the details with the central banking system and how it worked with the government and how that led to taxes and all of that. But banks became a big issue. Another big issue, every major group that came and conquered someone else, it came down to land, right? So what this means is the people who made the rules that we have to play within to make money and to create wealth are people who understood what was happening with taxes and with land. And that's why people who do real estate, the way that our tax code is written, it benefits people who own real estate. When you are an investor or you own real estate, there's laws that will help you pay less taxes if you know how to do it. Now, that's not the subject of my show today, but I want you to understand why, right? The same thing is with respect to business. So people who create business, these laws help to create more opportunities for people who generate business, because business creates work and work creates taxes, which goes back to the original plan of the founders. So this is why they reward the person who is involved in real estate and the person that's involved in business. So you want to, so my point here is, I hope you're really getting something out of this here. My point is here, and let me take some of this stuff off so hopefully you all got some stuff out of that. But let me erase so we can go a little bit deeper here. So one thing that I would say is that everyone should be an entrepreneur, right? Everyone should be using some sort of entrepreneur opportunity to generate more money for themselves. Because in the game of cash flow, I want to have as many opportunities as possible to have money coming into my life. Now, there's levels of entrepreneurship, right? We don't have to go to the highest level, but we need to be thinking about different elements and different things. Now, when you think about yourself and going back to self-worth, so hold on to this real quick. I'm going to come back to this discussion about everyone should be an entrepreneur. But I want you to think about, when you think about self-worth, I want you to think about, and a gentleman, I think his name is Myron Golden, I think is his name. He loves to talk about this, but this is very important to understand what are the things that generate the most wealth as a skill set when you talk about self-worth. Now, when you think about self-worth, now at the lowest level is more execution, right? People who basically can get the work done. Nothing wrong with this. You can make money from this, but you're going to only earn a certain amount of money when you can just do whatever needs to be done, right? There's a certain amount of money there for that. There's another level of the managing level, right? Someone who is able to manage work. So people that are able to manage work, and they have the skill set to manage, because now they're dealing with how to manage people, how people can work together toward a common goal, which means that now we can do greater things. So what? You're rewarded for having that skill set. And even greater is people who can communicate, right? If you're a good communicator, you have the ability to make more money. So whether that's a person that is able to sell, a person that is able to interact with people, collaborate, is able to communicate and talk well, these are skills that are worth a lot of money. So make sure you understand the value of being able to communicate well. I can't say enough about investing and getting the courage to learn how to talk to people, learn how to communicate how you feel, learn how to communicate, for the situation that you're dealing with, because communication leads to real money. Some of the people who are some of the greatest communicators, they're the ones we remember, right? They're the ones who move nations. These are the people who caused us to think differently about different things, right? And that kind of moves us to the highest level, is people who are able to imagine or think, right, deeply about things. These are people that can create and invent, that have ideas. And that's why, think about it. We talk about people, I'll use Apple. I'm an Android user myself, but all you Apple users out there, I'm not taking away from you. We do know that one of the greatest executives and leaders and thought leaders we've ever seen was Steve Jobs, right? Now, Steve Jobs, he didn't build computers. He wasn't the one executing, but he was the one who reimagined what Apple was about and what it really meant to have certain devices that we could use. And because of that imagination and that mindset, look at how much money and wealth has been created. This is why we have to challenge ourselves to think, right? And to imagine and to think about things that actually are unique to us, unique to some of the things that we might have expertise in, not being afraid to think and to generate the things that might be unique to the way that you think. All of us have unique things that you'd be surprised where we can, in that particular space, we can imagine and we can create because we feel comfortable in that space. And so the more that you find those areas, you have a greater opportunity to generate more wealth and income. Now, let's go back to everyone should be an entrepreneur. So when you think about an entrepreneur basically is a problem solver, right? So an entrepreneur is someone that solves a problem. That's it. So you say, well, I'm not an entrepreneur. Sure you are. There's some problem you know how to solve. You might know how to solve the problem of being consistent working out. You might know how to solve the problem of cooking a particular meal. You might know how to solve the problem of actually doing something that other people find hard that you find easy. And this is something that, again, we have to think about. Now, once an entrepreneur understands a problem, that they can solve, then they're able, again, as you know, we can take things and we can turn something into a product, and then we give that to someone who needs it, and then in exchange, we earn money. So a big part of things is we look at in business is, it takes an effort to create products. And some of us feel like, well, hey, I just like to go to work and come home. I'm not into, a bunch of things with products and, building a business. I'm not an entrepreneur. I want you to think deeper. And I want all of you, as we think about moving forward, we're moving into, new things, greater things. I want you to challenge yourself to think deeper about yourself and the different opportunities that you can create and how you can generate new sources of income and create more wealth for yourself. And some of you need to really, stop thinking so much and start getting in action and start trying things, start doing things that generate. Now, why is this so important? I'm going to make some more room here. You're actually, for entrepreneurship, there are things around today that weren't around 20 years ago when I started as an entrepreneur. And some of the things that you should be so excited about is that now you don't even need to have the product or create the product, I should say. Now we've got things out here, right? I'm just going to put all kind of stuff up here. And we got stuff out there like Amazon and other things, that I could use examples of Amazon and Alibaba and all these different sites. There's so much out there that literally already have the products and basically says, hey, if you be an affiliate, I will pay you for selling my product. So this is why there's no one that can't be making some extra money, right, by selling products of someone else and then getting compensated for it. Now, here's the secret though, back to self-worth, is you've got to connect with products that are matched to your worth, to the things that you know well, right? So if you know a lot about cooking, why not sell a cookbook that you believe in, that they're doing an affiliate model on? If you like a certain seasoning, why not sell that seasoning if they would let you? If you're someone who likes working out, why not sell things that contribute to people working out, right? So everything that we do, it has a purpose, and you can tie it back to real opportunities to generate wealth. So when you think about that, this opportunity, some of the things that's really, when we think about how everything was set up back with the banks and taxes and land and going back to how things were set up, even going back to the Industrial Revolution and how things were happening traditionally just in this country specifically, we've been tricked to think, that, anything to do with making money on your own, even think about network marketing. There's a reason that a lot of people want to, especially the government and different things, want you to think negatively about certain things. Now, don't get me wrong. There's some people who've done some bad stuff in every business, though, not just network marketing. In every business, there are people who have done things that were not good in every business. But there's attention put on this particular industry because it is an industry that frees you from the normal structure. Now, let me tell you about one of the greatest pyramids ever. So when you think about a business, we got our CEO, right? Then we have our executives. Then we got our managers. I could say directors too. Then we got, other workers and so forth, and we can go on. And you'll notice there's a pyramid structure here for sure, right? Same thing. We could go to the government, right? We got the president. And then we go to all the different, cabinets and houses of government, all the way down to, governors and, your police and all of that. And you keep going, you'll find a pyramid again. You go through it, but it's something about opportunities, whether it's affiliate or network marketing, where when you actually can get in a situation where you can be compensated as you begin to let people know, about different opportunities, and you're able to generate wealth, right, from communicating, it happens as people start telling people it does kind of look like a pyramid, but someone is telling you, hey, and let me tell you this, the high school system, the college system, everything about the training and education, all the certificate programs, everything in our society was built for you to think and be a worker, right? That is what makes it work. This is what makes taxes work. So people, it's not built for you to imagine and to think outside the box and to have the courage to imagine and create new opportunities as an entrepreneur. That is not what is taught in the school system. And there's a reason, because this guarantees a workforce. We are taught to work hard. We're not taught about money. We're not taught how money works. We're not taught about credit scores. We're not taught about real estate. We're not taught about entrepreneurship. Why? We're only taught about the things that make us good executors, and it's promoted to be a hard worker. So, again, society would have us to stay in this pyramid. Now, this pyramid, is nothing wrong with this, because you can have this also, right, be a source of cash flow. Whatever job you have, it's a source of cash flow. But it's very important that you don't get stuck in that and that you start to think outside the box. What type of opportunities can you involve yourself in that also create new opportunities for you to generate more revenue? And it could be something very simple. Many of you are ambassadors for URCL. You're a part of that affiliate program. There's a lot of things we're going to be rolling out, but that's going to be a wonderful way to make more income on a digital product, right? As you begin to earn income from different sources, then you explore other ways to compound your opportunities, where you're looking into, maybe I can get a rental property, right, and get strategic. I've seen some people be very smart, where they might actually have a property, right, and let's say it's a fourplex or whatever, and they live in that fourplex, and they're able then to rent the other parts of this fourplex to other people. And these 3 people are actually paying the rent for the person that's here. Now, this is a smart wealth decision, but a lot of times, because we don't imagine, right, we only think of like a renter. And sometimes we're not willing to take the sacrifice, right, which takes some managing and communicating and thinking higher and deeper. We're not willing to actually look deeper, or we won't even. So when I talk about thinking, some of the thinking has to do with research, has to do with analyzing, right, looking at things deeper, right? It has to do with listening. Right? This is the type of work that no one wants to do, because it's much easier just to go to work. But when you start being willing to do this, again, this is why us being well is directly tied to wealth, because when I can think deeper and when I'm willing to put the time and energy into things that add value to my worth, it will lead to real financial opportunity. And so this is what we're talking about when we talk about wealth. So we've covered a lot here today, and I really just hope I've got your mind thinking. I want you to think a lot deeper about the types of things that you can create in your life. Think about some of the goals that you want to set, right? How much money do you really want to make every month? What is the goal that you have? And then start to think about how to do that. And this is, again, before we go, I can't say enough about a goal, right? Wealth goal. So there's levels of that. But to really think about, some people say, I don't make enough money. Well, what is enough money, right? To think about, well, what does that mean? And when you start to think about what that means, then you can start thinking about how to create that. Now you're purposefully thinking, if I had a little bit of this, a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, I can get to the goal that I have, until I can get that to start to compound and grow to even more. All right. Well, I hope y'all enjoyed this. We just jumped in and just had a good coaching session here today and talked about a lot of different aspects of wealth, and even about the root of that word wealth, meaning well. And I hope you enjoyed this. And now let me just tell you a little bit about what is coming up next. So we know are about to be moving into another year, and I just want you to be aware that we're going to take a break next week. However, next week I'm probably going to be going live and interacting with some of you in our URCO group, so make sure you stay tuned. But the week after that, we're going to already be in the new year. So I'm telling you now, Happy New Year and all of that. New CEOs, we're going to have a great year in 2021. It's going to be awesome. But I want you to be ready for this next year. And our next show is going to be very clearly, that next show is going to be 2021. Here we come. And that's going to be the focus for that show. You don't want to miss it. I'm going to have some wonderful insights and things and updates that you don't want to miss. Another thing I want you to be aware of, and I want you to listen clearly. Write this down. On January 6th at 6 o'clock, we are going to have a special event. I'm going to be holding a group coaching session. A lot of this is starting to be promoted online. It is going to be free, and it's going to be a group coaching session. The theme is This Won't Break Me. And we're targeting entrepreneurs. We're targeting career professionals who are ready to take the next step and be able to face the things that are going on. It is a free group coaching session. So get the word out, invite people, especially those that are entrepreneurs, and make sure you're ready to have a good night with me, free of charge, thousands of dollars an hour for coaching from me. This is free though, and we're going to spend some time together on January 6th at 6 o'clock. That is a Wednesday, Pacific Standard Time. We'll probably put a link here in the feed for you. Make sure you get the word out. I will see you there. From now until then, get out there and let the whole world know that you are a CEO.